I don't want to put a certain stereotype on the kind of role of a musician, but when I listen to a lot of music, and kind of yours in particular, there seems to be a certain loneliness,
Yeah,
perhaps associated with the profession. Does that ring true for you, or does that seem a bit of a surface level observation?
I don't know. I think, yeah, it's something that I do think about, and I guess for a lot of the writing process and that is just you uh, sort of coming to terms with your own headspace and that sort of thing. So I think that's probably where a lot of the loneliness comes from. And even when I'm writing with other people, it's words that you've made on your own, like words that I've written down in a book by myself. Because I like to come into a writing session like prepared, and I guess like our music at the moment is like split. It's like 50-50 written with other people, 50 like the other half is written myself, and then with Rowan. But yeah, I don't know. It is very it's quite lonely, that part of it, and you can't really like. It's hard to open up, I guess, in front of other people. So you kind of have to. I don't know, or it's dangerous. I feel like it's dangerous to open up in front of other people because if you just let your mind ramble, then you don't really know where you're going to end up.
So it's easier to be vulnerable on your own and then
Yeah.
take maybe certain parts of it into the space. You can be a
Yeah.
bit more selective about what you want to share.
Yeah, I think so, and I think like when you share it, you can word stuff a certain way that is still being open, and like you've come to terms with what you're trying to say. It's just a bit easier once you've sort of thought about it yourself first. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it brings to mind the kind of opening piano melody, in the new single,
Yeah,
and the way that it weaves, and it starts off quite kind of ethereal and bright, and then
yeah,
it starts to kind of turn into this slightly darker direction.
yeah.
Is that ever mirrored in the process for you? Will you start writing something and it'll be quite innocent, and then before you know it, you've gone into this really dark place?
Yeah, sometimes I do like to. I don't know. In terms of, I don't know. I like to balance the line often between the two. I guess like you have the kind of prettier, flowery, more soft side of a song, and then I like to also have a couple of like more direct lyrics, and then I guess in the production we probably just try and mirror what it was that the concept of the song was. We try and mirror that because more often than not we would start with like guitar vocal or just a small idea. I think Nothing was actually almost two songs at one point, because it was almost two songs and then somehow it came together to be one song in the end. But that happens quite a lot, I think.
It's interesting what you were saying about, complementing the subject of a song in the production
Yeah,
and trying to tap into it there.
yeah.
How do you feel that feeds into the kind of distorted vocals or the effects that you're layering on there,
Yeah.
which are now kind of more present in the sound than they once were?
Yeah, I think that sort of style, and it is quite present in a lot of the new stuff we're doing. And I sort of over the last year had almost like a full circle of it, and like I think I got so sick and tired of my own voice, and I was just like frustrated, and almost to the point where I was like, I feel like I was discarding good ideas because of the way it was performed or the way I was sounding in it. And I think everyone's like tastes grow or whatever, but that, yeah, just I just at one point every song we were doing had a crazy effect on the vocal, and I eventually we sat down and had a chat with everyone, and we're like, look, Stuart, you need to like at some point we need to release a song that's not like pitched or distorted or like over affected. And I was like, yeah, granted, that is true. So a lot of the stuff more recently has been like we've been reworking songs that we wrote in the past that I have like affected the vocal, but sometimes it just sounds better like pitched down or affected, I guess. And I don't know, it's trying to be selective with it now, I think, as opposed to.
Is that feeling that it sounds better something that's specific to you, or does that feel universal within the band?
A bit of both, I think. We kind of got into the routine of pitching everything down just a tiny bit because it makes everything a lot softer and you get rid of the high frequencies. And that's kind of like what happens when you record on tape. That is the sort of why old music sounds so good, I think, is because like they would record it on tape and you can slow the speed of the tape machine, which is sort of the same as pitching down, as far as I can understand. But yeah, unanimously between me and Rowan, we do like that sort of stuff. But with our management and stuff, and we try and keep pretty open, to be fair. But we try and make it accessible, and I try and like listen as an outsider as well. And although I'm a sucker for a song where the vocals pitch down, I feel like you need to, I don't know, you need to let people in a little bit as well. So, yeah.
How does putting those effects on your voice change your relationship to it and the way that you connect with it, like on a personal level?
Yeah, I think it changes. I think as like the songs get older and stuff, but it kind of allows me to listen to it. I assume what it's like to listen to as from like an outsider as well, and I don't know. Constant self-doubt is something I particularly battle with, but I think everyone does when you're making stuff and you're like, that's not good, and things like that. Whereas Rowan will be like, I think that vocal sounds fine the way it is. So yeah, that it offers me a chance to listen to it as if it wasn't me, I guess. And then sometimes I get wrapped up in probably the enjoyment of that. So yeah, I guess it could be a technique in some ways to give a song a bit of new life or whatever, which is quite apparent in some of our stuff. But yeah, it definitely makes me feel like it's not myself sometimes, which I enjoy.
I mean, quite often when we have conversations and hear about collaborating with other people, we talk about how it can impact your perception of your own songwriting.
Yeah.
I'm interested when you do that collaboration with B Charlotte recently and you're harmonizing on that together.
Yeah.
How does that impact the way that you perceive your own voice and the way that you think about it?
It's interesting. I feel like having the support of a different vocal like I really enjoy that feeling that you get, and I guess it's slightly less isolating, and you're not, I don't know, necessarily putting yourself out there as much. So I do really enjoy that sort of process, and especially when when we recorded and mixed that, you get there's more opportunity there to sort of have your vocal balanced with someone else's. So yeah, it's something we really enjoy, and we've definitely done for the future, like new songs and stuff. There's quite a lot of that where we've either written it with someone else and we've got them to feature on it, or I've just been messaging lots of friends really over lockdown, being like, "Can you send me just like some harmonies?" But like more often than not now, like a female vocal or a higher vocal, just I don't know.
It gives that a different balance.
Yeah, it gives it a different balance, and I think it gives it a depth as well. When you're listening to like some of my favorite albums, you're like, there's a lovely singer in the back of that album. I have no idea who it is, and I bet there's a cool story behind the backing vocals in that album or that song. Do you know what I mean? So it's something I think we're trying to, yeah, a bit of diversity in the vocals, which is nice compared to when we first started. And it's just constant layering of harmonies and stuff like that, which obviously you still do, but.
Was that song you did with B Charlotte, was that an example of what we were talking about earlier, where you'll kind of come up with some things that are quite personal beforehand and then bring it into that space?
Yeah, that was quite a unique experience. That right, because someone actually filmed some of it while we were doing it, and never had that done before. When like, yeah, there's other people in the room that aren't writing, so yeah, you really are watching what you're saying. But yeah, that was good. Charlotte obviously is a good friend of mine, and she has done the writing game for a long time. So I kind of learned a lot from what she's done and told me about like co-writes and stuff like that before I went in and did them myself. And yeah, it was nice doing that because I was fully confident that she would also bring in like a bunch of stuff, and we'd kind of like, right, what have you brought in, and like compare it and try and find a common theme maybe, and yeah.
You have that baseline of trust there already.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I mean, the first like hour and a half or whatever ends up being chatting anyway when you're like get into a writing session, so which is quite funny. But I think
it sets the tone though.
Yeah, it sets the tone. It's important. It's like it makes it less like a business meeting, more like an actual creative experiment. But
do you ever get that feeling sometimes when you're going into writing sessions that are kind of coordinated through management and things? Kind of have that slight business meeting feeling to it when it begins?
I've never really experienced it. Not really. I think most of the people that I've written with have been like like known through a friend, or like, oh, I wrote with this person, you should definitely write with them, they're lovely, sort of thing. We've never really done too intensive experience like that where, I don't know, I imagine maybe in the future we will, but going around like, I don't know, lots and lots of different writers in a short period of time where it is like every day. And I think in London especially there's probably quite a lot of that where it will be every single day for people like coming into a room and writing. But and yeah, I have heard of bad experiences, but I've never had them myself, that's for sure. But
When it comes to where the sound is going to develop next and where it has been developing over the last year, do you feel like your musical instincts that are taking you in that direction are more based in logic or more based in emotion?
ooh, I would say I guess a bit of both. I feel like we've grown up a lot over the last couple of years in terms of our music, like our just tastes and abilities as well. Like since obviously Rowan and I do a lot of we do all the recording, and we've just started working with another producer to kind of like help us finish stuff, because we got into a real issue with finishing stuff, like just getting it from this last bit. And when you've lived with something for so long, just yeah. So we brought a guy called Fred Cox on board who does like, the title's like ad production, but he essentially like has been mixing and adding like a little bit of stuff and like sort of giving a second opinion on the music. So I think that has steered it in a certain way as well. And I think we kind of, even working with him, we've tried to be a bit more professional and a bit more strict in the way we are creating, and yeah, just aware of how much space is in a song. Like if, like I think recently we've been mixing a lot of stuff as well, so like being aware you can't just like chuck loads of ideas. So we've been trying to be smart and strip back. By strip back is
It's
probably
fascinating you say that, because when I was listening to the new single today,
yeah.
I think it was only about the third time I was listening that I noticed you have the verse and it's only the guitar.
Yeah,
But it doesn't feel like that when you hear it the first few times and you're kind of just on autopilot.
Yeah,
It feels like it's full, but there's barely anything there. It's very sparse.
yeah. That was a particularly interesting choice, that one. But yeah, that was one, for example, when we sent it to Fred, he was like, "Look, I'm not really going to touch this, but I'm just going to make everything in a bit of a nicer space," and sort of, yeah, the kind of, again, the finishing touches he was able to do. But I feel like as well, nothing in terms of the emotional side. I do feel like it has grown a little bit in terms of, I don't know, I think I'm just getting better, like, than I was. I assume everyone feels like that, but it's hard to put it into words. But I feel more emotionally invested in this song than probably I ever have done, apart from maybe like positive at the very, very start. Like I feel like there's a lot of it where like I'm emotionally invested, but I'm not sure it comes through as well as maybe the stuff we're about to release. And I guess that's emotional development of sorts.
Is that because of the disconnect that you had with your vocals too? That slight feeling of not being fully connected to it?
Yeah, potentially. I think, yeah, sort of just accepting it. But then again, I've changed like style and stuff, like with the new stuff. Not style, but like it's a lot more reserved, and it's a lot.
Got a different feel.
Yeah, there's less like shouting and stuff like that. It's more delicate, and which again I think is also part of the emotional, like it's in the performance of the vocal and stuff. So
You mentioned at the start of that too that you felt like you've grown up a lot in the last year.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a good understanding of who you are at the moment in time, at this moment in time?
Oh gosh, I don't know, and like, it's. I think so. Like I feel a bit like more comfortable, I guess, but also it's a strange contradiction with how uncertain the music industry actually is. And like, it's not like I feel confident that like, oh, we're gonna have a fully successful career. Like that's not really where the confidence is. But I'm fully confident in the music, and I like all the stuff we've done over the last 2 years, like the unreleased stuff. I'm just like, I'll know like once this is all out, I'll be like, oh man, like I'll be satisfied. I'll be very satisfied, hopefully.
When would you say your music is at its purest?
Gosh. I don't know when it's at its purest. Um, I don't know. I feel like something I've always learned is when it is just stripped back, that is when you know it's a good song, if it sounds just as good as it does with all the bells and whistles, was when it's just guitar vocal or just piano vocal. And I think, yeah, I think that is probably true, to be honest. Like, you should, within reason, obviously I've got loads of favorite songs that are just like ambient tunes or like bang and dance tunes, right? But that is the thing. But I feel like even at the core of them, there's like, it's the songwriting that is what people connect to and stuff like that. So
I mean, Heartstuck and the recent single are both great examples of that. Heartstuck in particular, where you have that housey beat, but it almost feels, I think we spoke about this last time, where Heartstuck, it started with the beat and then you almost wrote the guitar part on top of it.
yeah,
Like the vocal and the guitar part is what's at the core of it,
yeah,
but the beat can also exist, beneath that. It's
yeah,
a separate thing.
totally. I think something that's been interesting with that song is we just started getting the live set together for the first time, and we've never like that song's almost 2 years old or whatever, but we've never played it live. Or a year old, 2 years?
Yeah.
A year, yeah. But we've still never played it live, obviously, which is crazy. And yeah, we've been messing around with it, and I'm like torn between, do we take the full track and do we go like full on with it, and there's this instrumental like housey beat going on, or for the live version, do we like play it like I've been learning it on guitar and stuff, and do we take it something like that and we add live drums in, and do we make it like, I don't know. I kind of feel like recently I've just enjoyed the idea of playing the songs not exactly how they are.
Bob Dylan style.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, I don't know. I've always been so set on making the music when we play live exactly how it is in the tracks, like to the extent where we were making Kyle the drummer like have all these pads that made the exact sound that was in the song. I think something nice about this set that we're building is going to be like try and recreate it live, but with Heartstuck there is just something that draws you in about not it necessarily being such a big production, which was kind of nice.
I love talking music with you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I love talking music with you.